Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Links are in the description below. Please show some love of the author and me. On to the show.
But now, the Hyperion is standing here perfectly. Could it be that the power just now was released by that metal fortress? But how is this possible? I simply don't believe it. Perhaps, that power is an offensive weapon. Perhaps my inference is wrong. Thinking of this, Su Yan couldn't help shaking his head. Since I don't know how this happened, let's forget about it for the time being, and check again after he returns to the base. Su Yan stopped the Hyperion for a while, and then sailed forward again. In this star field, there are all kinds of flying life everywhere. Su Yan drives the Hyperion to shuttle in the universe. While driving the Hyperion, Su Yan constantly adjusted his state. Su Yan knew that now, he couldn't let his guard down. The danger of this universe is much higher than he imagined. Now, Empress Su has taken all these dangers to heart. The Hyperion, while traveling through the universe, adjusted its posture to prevent its own spaceship from being hit. At this time, the route of the Hyperion has left the galaxy that entered the interstellar battlefield before. It is already some distance away from the interstellar battlefield, and there are still many scars on the shell of the Hyperion. Obviously, the attack that the Hyperion encountered just now has caused great damage to it. However, it's all right now. The Hyperion has been repaired. The engine of the Hyperion is made of superalloy. Compared with the original, the speed and power of the Hyperion have increased by at least 3 times, or even 4 or 5 times. This is a super battleship that surpasses spaceships. Now, we have left the scope of the original planet, and now we are a strange starry sky. We can only rely on luck, and we don't know if we can escape this danger. At this time, the Hyperion has entered the vicinity of a huge planet. There are crises everywhere outside this planet, and Su Yan and the others must leave this planet as soon as possible. Otherwise, they may encounter various attacks at any time. Boom. Suddenly, there was an explosion in the void ahead, and then, a huge interstellar spaceship flew out of the void, rushing towards Su Yan and the others. Oops. Su Yan was shocked. There was actually an interstellar spaceship on this planet, and this interstellar spaceship actually flew towards them. It's troublesome now. Su Yan's face changed drastically. The size of this interstellar spaceship is incomparably huge, and at a glance, you can't see the side at all. The main gun of this interstellar spacecraft is made of a huge dark crystal, which is extremely powerful, and it is also a supersonic cannon in a supersonic state, which can travel hundreds of millions of meters in an instant. Su Yan also saw the densely packed muzzles on the starship. These muzzles are fired continuously, which is extremely terrifying. No, run away. At this time, Su Yan immediately shouted. The Hyperion quickly flew in another direction. At this time, the interstellar spacecraft has also chased here. The Hyperion's engine was activated again, and the strong vibration caused the Hyperion's trajectory to deviate. Such things reduced the speed of the Hyperion to a very low level. However, the main cannon of this interstellar spacecraft continued to fire, and the speed of the shells was very fast. Damn, the attack speed of this interstellar spaceship is very fast. I am afraid it will be difficult to dodge it. Su Yan was very anxious, but the speed of this interstellar spacecraft was too fast. In such a situation, the only option is to run away. Su Yan thought of this and immediately issued an order. The Hyperion quickly shifted in one direction, avoided the planet's turret, and then quickly galloped away towards the distance. Su Yan is also ready to stay on this planet for a while, and wait for a while. This interstellar spaceship also quickly changed its course, following closely behind the Hyperion. The interstellar spacecraft continued to increase its firepower, blocking the route of the Hyperion, asking for flowers. The route of the Hyperion has always been swinging from side to side. No matter how the Hyperion gets rid of the interstellar spacecraft, the interstellar spacecraft still follows closely behind. At this time, a staff member on the interstellar spaceship suddenly said, "Sir, look, this Hyperion seems to be approaching us. Did it spot us?" Probably not, although this Hyperion is powerful. It is not powerful enough to scare even these cosmic civilizations. This Hyperion should just be passing by. At this time, a group of people began to discuss in the control room of the interstellar spacecraft. On the side, the officer frowned immediately after hearing his subordinates report zero. This news is really surprising. However, after careful observation, other people in the interstellar spacecraft control room also felt that this situation was normal. Sailing among the stars, generally speaking, when encountering any situation, they are the most vulnerable to attack. Moreover, the Hyperion has no combat capability now, so it is not surprising to meet them here. The people on this Hyperion are really interesting. The corner of the officer's mouth curled up, and he said, "They actually want to bypass us. It seems that they don't know how to flatter them." If this is the case, then we will not be polite. Immediately, the people in the interstellar spacecraft control room immediately controlled the interstellar spacecraft to fly forward. In front of the Hyperion, a huge interstellar spaceship is chasing them crazily. Boom boom boom. A series of artillery fire erupted from the front of the interstellar spaceship, and waves of fiery energy continuously attack the Hyperion. Now their route has been completely destroyed, and there is no way to avoid it. Damn. Seeing this scene, Su-Yan cursed immediately. Boom boom boom. A burst of violent roaring sound reached Su-Yan's ears, and the Hyperion was also vibrating continuously. Su-Yan could feel that the interstellar spacecraft was constantly closing the distance between him and him. What to do? If this continues, there is no way to get rid of this interstellar spaceship. Damn. At this time, Su-Yan was also extremely depressed. Ding! It is detected that the host is in danger. Please flee immediately, otherwise the host will be destroyed by this starship. At this moment, this voice suddenly sounded in my mind. What? If attacked by this interstellar spaceship, it will be destroyed. Wouldn't I be dead then? Hearing the sudden voice in his mind, Su-Yan showed a look of astonishment on his face. What kind of weapon is loaded on this interstellar spaceship that actually possesses such power? Does this starship have special weapons? Su-Yan asked. I'm not sure about this, but according to my speculation, the weapon carried on this interstellar spacecraft is probably a very powerful spaceship that is not 000 spacecraft. Yes, I guess. This interstellar spacecraft should be an interstellar spacecraft of a powerful force. Hateful. Hearing the system's judgment in his mind, Su-Yan couldn't help cursing angrily. At this moment, on the Hyperion, a shell suddenly bombarded the Hyperion. Boom. With a loud noise, the shell slammed into the tail of the Hyperion. Click. With a slight sound, the metal tail of the Hyperion was directly destroyed. As for the Hyperion, it shook even more violently, and the entire hull was on the verge of falling, as if it was about to be directly smashed into pieces by this interstellar spaceship. Rumble. The Hyperion trembled violently, as if it was about to fall apart. Su-Yan's heart sank. Now, he simply cannot get rid of the pursuit of this interstellar spaceship. Those people on this interstellar spacecraft have also noticed the Hyperion. One after another, the turrets aimed at the Hyperion, and then kept tilting their gunfire towards the Hyperion, bombarding at a high speed. Damn it, what is this damned interstellar spaceship doing? Seeing the pitch-black scene around him, Su-Yan couldn't help shouting angrily. The front of the Hyperion, the muzzle of the interstellar spaceship, has already aimed at the Hyperion. Su-Yan knew that this interstellar spaceship must be trying to destroy him. Ding! Congratulations to the host. Touched the attack of the interstellar spacecraft, triggered the kill order, triggered the conditions, defeated the enemy and obtained all the weapons and equipment on the interstellar spacecraft. Before Su-Yan could react, the reminder sounded again in his mind. Hearing the notification tone, Su-Yan froze for a moment, then immediately understood. This interstellar spacecraft turned out to be aimed at its own weapons and equipment. In this way, they want to snatch their own weapons and equipment. No, this matter must not be compromised. Thinking of this, Su-Yan immediately mobilized all the weapons and equipment on the Hyperion, and took them out in an instant. On the Hyperion, all the weapons and equipment lit up. For a moment, everyone on the interstellar spacecraft saw the scene in front of them, and they were all terrified by the scene in front of them. They saw that a large pile of weapons and equipment all lit up, and then attacked the Hyperion. For a moment, they were all stunned. What's the situation? Could it be that the Hyperion has more weapons and equipment than them? Not only that, they saw that there were actually many energy shields on the Hyperion. Layer after layer of defensive shields stood in front of the Hyperion, making it impossible for the group of people on the interstellar spaceship to harm the Hyperion at all. Seeing this scene, a group of people were dumbfounded. They never imagined that the number of weapons and equipment on the Hyperion in front of them would be so huge, and their power would be so amazing. Seeing that the Hyperion was rapidly shrinking in front of them, they didn't dare to stop, and turned around to run away, fleeing away. There is also an energy cannon on the Hyperion, and this energy cannon can destroy the entire interstellar spacecraft. Boom. The energy cannon bombarded a planet, and all the buildings on the planet were instantly reduced to ruins. Su-Yan controls the Hyperion, and keeps speeding forward, and that interstellar spaceship was following behind the Hyperion, constantly firing at the Hyperion. Boom. The shells fired by the interstellar spacecraft, each shell falling on the Hyperion, will cause a violent shock to the shield on the Hyperion. Damn it, the weapons of this interstellar spaceship are too terrifying. The protective cover on the Hyperion couldn't bear it. Several times, the protective cover on the Hyperion almost collapsed. Su-Yan frowned, with a serious look on his face. In this situation, he simply cannot get rid of this interstellar spaceship. Suddenly, Su-Yan suddenly opened a hatch on the side. Seeing this scene, Su-Yan immediately drove the Hyperion without even thinking about it, and got in through this hatch. After entering the hatch, the outer shield of the Hyperion slowly closed again. At this time, everyone saw that there was no protective cover on the Hyperion, and rushed towards the Hyperion one after another. These people want to enter the Hyperion, and then destroy the Hyperion. However, rows of muzzles on the Hyperion opened fire at the same time. One by one shells, like a meteor shower, shot towards those interstellar spaceships. The people on these interstellar spaceships only felt that a layer of transparent protective cover suddenly appeared around them, blocking the attacks of those shells. Damn, what are these 2.3 things? When some people saw the attacks of these shells, they were all blocked in mid-air, and they couldn't help shouting in surprise. Damn, the weapons and equipment on these shells are really terrible. One shell is enough to destroy hundreds of our warships. The other people also saw this scene, and they were all shocked, with expressions of fear on their faces call out. At this moment, a burst of wind suddenly sounded, and then two shells flew directly towards them. A cannonball, with an extremely powerful air wave. The other cannonball carried a scorching heat. What? With a scream, a member of the interstellar spaceship, under the attack of a shell, was directly torn into two halves, blood splattered everywhere, stained red. The people on this interstellar spacecraft finally knew the power of these shells. They didn't dare to neglect, and hurriedly avoided. Boom, boom, boom. 3 more cannonballs were fired from those 3 angles, blowing up the interstellar spaceship. A scorching heat rose from the interstellar spacecraft, and some people were even burned by the flames, howling in pain, and lying on the ground covered in scorched black. This thing is simply too terrifying. If it were in the universe, we would have been burned to nothingness, not even bones left. The power of these shells is really terrifying. If ordinary people are here, wouldn't they be wiped out in an instant? It's really terrifying. Fortunately, these weapons and equipment are in the star field. If they are in the galaxy system, such an attack is enough to completely destroy an interstellar spaceship. These people were discussing in shock. This interstellar spacecraft is indeed too powerful. If it is in the galaxy, they have no way to resist it. 23. Su Yan is frantically flying the Hyperion, constantly jumping forward and leaving the interstellar spaceship. However, although Su Yan's speed is very fast, this starship is not slow at all. The speed of these interstellar spacecraft is simply beyond imagination. After a while, all the weapon systems on the Hyperion were activated, and all the weapons started to attack, launching an offensive towards the starship. On the starship, for a time, the interstellar spacecraft was covered with dense shells. Cannon muzzles spewed out dazzling flames one after another, and shells shot out from the muzzles one after another, hitting the interstellar spaceship on top of the interstellar spaceship. Su Yan also desperately steered the Hyperion, constantly galloping forward. Now, he has been forced to have no way out. I have to admit that the speed of this interstellar spaceship is really fast, and he has also exerted a strong protective ability. Even the shield of the Hyperion cannot completely block the interstellar spacecraft. Speed up, Su Yan shouted loudly. As soon as his words fell, the speed of the Hyperion immediately increased a lot, and a white shadow shuttled through the starry sky. The speed became faster and faster. Within a few breaths, he had already disappeared from everyone's sight, and disappeared without a trace. The people on the starship couldn't find Su Yan at all. This interstellar spacecraft did not continue to hunt down. After all, the Hyperion had disappeared without a trace, and there was no trace of it at all, so I could only watch the Hyperion disappear. What's going on? What's going on here? Why can't our interstellar spacecraft catch up with this Hyperion at such a fast speed? Does this Hyperion also have a cloaking device? This is impossible. How could this Hyperion have such a function? We have been sailing with this interstellar spaceship. The weapons and equipment on the Hyperion have never fired invisible shells. I don't believe that our speed will be faster than them. We must find out the reason. No matter how much we pay, we must catch him. A group of people spoke one after another, with angry expressions on their faces. There must be invisible weapons on this Hyperion, otherwise, the Hyperion would definitely not be able to catch up with this interstellar spaceship. Su Yan was driving the Hyperion, thinking about countermeasures while flying. The weapons system of the Hyperion was designed and manufactured by him. Su Yan knows very well what devices can be activated on the Hyperion. He knows that there are so many devices on the Hyperion, so he is not afraid. What he is worried about now is whether these interstellar spacecraft can intercept the Hyperion and hide it. It seems that only the strongest weapons can be used on the Hyperion. Su Yan thought about it in his mind, and then made a decision. On the Hyperion, there are still many weapon systems that have not been activated. For example, that huge turret is one of the weapon systems on the Hyperion. The giant turrets were all collected by Su Yan from other interstellar warships during this operation, and they were all high-tech weapons capable of reaching 12 times the speed of sound. Su Yan drove the Hyperion and flew out from the Hyperion. The speed of the Hyperion is very fast, and the speed of flying in the air is even more extremely fast. On the Hyperion he piloted. The way of flying is completely different from that of ordinary spaceships. This kind of flight is an elegant flight in the air, without the help of any other objects. The main gun of the Hyperion only opened one muzzle but did not fully open it. In this case, no matter how powerful the starship's attack power is, it cannot harm the Hyperion. However, the Hyperion that Su Yan was driving was extremely fast, and it floated in the air for a long distance before stopping. The speed of the Hyperion reached 13 times the speed of sound. This speed is not too fast for an interstellar spacecraft. However, for an interstellar spacecraft, this speed is already terrifying enough, and the Hyperion is still an interstellar warship, and its weapons system is naturally 180% higher than that of an interstellar spacecraft. The main gun of the Hyperion activated 8 weapon systems. A large number of miniature bombs are also arranged on these 8 weapon systems. The number of these miniature bombs is very large, enough to destroy the planet. The lethality of these miniature bombs is also very large, enough to easily destroy a planet. Su Yan controls the miniature bombs on the Hyperion, and continuously throws them on the interstellar spacecraft. On the Hyperion, many miniature bombs were placed. If the interstellar spacecraft is hit by a miniature bomb, the entire interstellar spacecraft will be shattered. Those tiny bombs will also explode, destroying everything nearby, and those interstellar spaceships will also turn into scrap iron and fall into the starry sky. On these miniature bombs, many miniature bomb launch arrays are also installed. These launch arrays are all miniature bombs that can emit high-frequency sound waves. With just one touch, those tiny bombs will release terrifying sound waves to attack the enemy. This kind of sonic attack is so powerful that it can destroy any planet. Even a layer of armor on the outside of the planet can't stop the erosion of sound waves. Su Yan's miniature bombs are also very powerful. In the starry sky, it can cause a large-scale shock, enough to tear the entire space apart. However, no matter how powerful these miniature bombs are, they cannot compare with Su Yan's Hyperion after all. There are also many miniature bombs installed on the weapons system of the Hyperion, and the number is still very large. These miniature bombs are all installed on the weapon systems on the interstellar spacecraft. These weapon systems are all operated by Su Yan himself. They are very powerful and can easily destroy the shields on the interstellar spacecraft. These weapons of the Hyperion are extremely detrimental to the interstellar spacecraft. An interstellar spacecraft can resist that kind of music attack for only 5 or 6 seconds, but it can't resist it for a long time. Not all of the weapons on the interstellar spacecraft can firmly block the impact of sound waves. After all, that kind of sound attack is really too powerful. The sonic attack can directly drill into the weapon system inside the interstellar spacecraft, so these interstellar spacecraft cannot fly freely in the starry sky like Su Yan. In this case, the flaws in the interstellar spacecraft were exposed, and at this time, Su Yan was given a chance. Boom. The main gun of the Hyperion fired out hundreds of energy bombs again, smashing towards the interstellar spaceship. These energy bombs have been specially processed to resist those sonic attacks. The interstellar spacecraft has no way to resist those sound waves, so it can only withstand these energy bombs abruptly. At this time, the Hyperion did not stop, although there are shields with amazing defensive power to protect these weapon systems, but the Hyperion's attack power is simply too powerful. The power of these miniature bombs is really too terrifying. As long as they are hit by those miniature bombs, it will explode immediately, producing terrifying energy. When a miniature bomb explodes, a large asteroid can be wiped out in an instant. These weapon systems couldn't withstand the Hyperion's level of attack, and miniature bombs exploded one after another. The defensive shields of the weapon system also slowly collapsed with the explosion of the bomb, and finally disappeared completely, turning into nothingness. Once the weapon system in the interstellar spacecraft is destroyed, it will really die. Su Yan drives the Hyperion, constantly attacking these interstellar spaceships. Although the weapon systems of these interstellar spaceships have strong defense capabilities, they cannot resist the attack of the Hyperion at all. There are also a lot of miniature bombs on the Hyperion. The explosive power of each miniature bomb is very powerful. Once these miniature bombs explode, they are so powerful that even stars can be easily blown up. Under this terrifying power and influence, the weapon systems in the interstellar spacecraft were all destroyed. These weapon systems manufactured by Su Yan are all ordinary miniature bombs, so they are in Su Yan's hands. It can also only be used to attack some starships. Boom! A series of miniature bombs exploded on the weapons system of the interstellar spacecraft. The attack power of these miniature bombs is extremely powerful, and when the miniature bombs explode one after another, they can tear apart those weapon systems. The Hyperion is like a fierce tiger, constantly wreaking havoc on the interstellar spaceship. Boom. Under the attack of the starship's main gun and those miniature bombs, the weapon systems on the starship were destroyed one after another. The parts of the weapon system fell down one after another. Boom, boom. Inside the interstellar spacecraft, there were several loud noises. The interstellar spacecraft also suffered a lot of damage because of this, and a large number of cracks began to appear on the surface of the interstellar spacecraft. On the interstellar spacecraft, all the weapon systems are being destroyed by Su Yan, and the energy shield on the interstellar spacecraft has also begun to appear cracks. Su Yan's goal is to destroy the energy shield on the interstellar spacecraft, completely scrapping the interstellar spacecraft, so as to achieve the purpose of taking it into the Hyperion. Another miniature bomb bombarded an interstellar spacecraft, and suddenly the energy shield on this interstellar spacecraft could no longer be maintained. The interstellar spacecraft also shook violently, and then the interstellar spacecraft stopped completely, and then fell straight down. Su Yan piloted the Hyperion, quickly shuttled through the air, leaving a long tail in the air. The Hyperion also encountered several attacks on the way. Most of these attacks were on the hull of the Hyperion. These attacks were also resisted by the Hyperion, but under those attacks, there were still some attacks that penetrated the Hyperion and hit the Hyperion. The energy shields on the Hyperion were not the opponents of these attacks at all, and were destroyed in an instant. Countless cracks appeared on the energy shields, and then these energy shields also completely collapsed. But the defensive power of Su Yan's Hyperion is also amazing. The defense of the Hyperion is definitely at the level of an interstellar aircraft carrier. This kind of tyrannical defense has surpassed that of ordinary space battleships, so Su Yan's healing power is also very strong. The interstellar spacecraft has been attacked countless times, but the shield on the interstellar spacecraft is still firmly guarding the spacecraft, and has not been broken because of this. The Hyperion was galloping in mid-air, with a speed as fast as lightning, and miniature bombs one after another continuously bombarded the outer wall of the interstellar spaceship. Money is good. The outer wall of the interstellar spaceship is made of unknown material, and its defense is amazing. It can withstand the bombardment of such a powerful bomb. Under such circumstances, the Hyperion's defensive power became more and more dormant. These energy bombs burst out clusters of dazzling light on the outer wall of the Hyperion. On the Hyperion, those densely packed small holes also continuously burst out countless sparks. These sparks are a kind of particles, a kind of cell-like particles made by Su Yan. This kind of particle can form a thin protective film on the outer wall of the interstellar spacecraft, which can prevent the invasion of energy flow. While the weapons outside were attacking the interstellar spacecraft, the Hyperion was also rapidly attacking the outer wall of the interstellar spacecraft. Under the attack of the Hyperion, many huge cracks appeared on the outer wall. This crack is getting bigger and wider. Soon, the entire outer wall of the interstellar spacecraft was covered with cracks. Su Yan is still standing on the Hyperion, manipulating the Hyperion to attack the interstellar spaceship. The outer wall of the interstellar spacecraft was attacked by the Hyperion, and it was as fragile as tofu, without any defense at all. Soon, the outer wall of the interstellar spacecraft was destroyed by the Hyperion. Under the attack of the Hyperion, the interstellar spaceship was finally destroyed. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully destroying an interstellar spaceship, rewarding the self-repair technology of the battleship, and increasing the self-repair ability by 50%. When Su Yan heard the system prompt, an excited smile appeared on his face. Finally, it worked. At this moment, a burst of enormous energy suddenly shot out from the interstellar spaceship. This huge energy rushed straight into the sky and spread in all directions. Inside the interstellar spacecraft, a huge interstellar spacecraft slowly rose. After rising, the interstellar spacecraft also expanded rapidly, and finally turned into a megaton super-huge spacecraft. The spaceship is also covered with countless gun ports. 917 inside the spacecraft. Fighter jets are flying, and fighter jets are also quickly scanning towards the personnel inside the starship. After all the personnel are successfully scanned, all the personnel will be sent into the spacecraft, and then these personnel will be sent to the interstellar base. The factory of the interstellar base has been destroyed, and many people in the interstellar base have escaped. These escaped personnel also fled into the solar system. Su Yan chased the fleeing crowd. The Hyperion's flying altitude is very low, moving rapidly in space. Being in space doesn't affect its moving speed at all. And Su Yan was also sitting in the cockpit of the Hyperion, observing the situation outside. The Hyperion is really tyrannical. The shell of the Hyperion is composed of energy spar. Even Su-Yan can't destroy this energy spar. The densely packed small holes on the Hyperion represent that the energy defense shield on the interstellar spacecraft has been destroyed. Once this kind of defensive shield is destroyed, the energy flow on the energy CDFG defensive shield will naturally disappear. On the Hyperion, some gun barrels have also been seriously damaged, but these injuries are no problem for the fighters on the Hyperion. The fighting ability of the Hyperion is very strong. The personnel inside the interstellar spacecraft outside were killed one by one under the attack of the Hyperion. Inside the interstellar spacecraft, many personnel are scientific researchers or scientists on the interstellar spacecraft. Although they only escape temporarily because under the pursuit of the Hyperion, these fleeing people will be caught soon. The escape route of these people is not very good, and it is easy to encounter other battleships and spaceships. Once discovered by these warships, then these escaped personnel will not escape. Ding! The interstellar spaceship has completed the destruction mission and earned 10 billion war points. The sound of the system reminder kept ringing in Su-Yan's mind, which made Su-Yan feel very happy. On the Hyperion, powerful energy waves were continuously released, constantly attacking the interstellar spaceships outside. A series of powerful and unparalleled attacks landed on the starship outside. Boom! One after another, the interstellar spaceships were all hit by the energy beam of the Hyperion, and they were instantly destroyed. Waves of energy spread out from the interstellar spaceship and spread outward. On the Hyperion, there were several energy beams shooting out. These energy beams, like a long rainbow, flew out quickly and shot towards the interstellar spaceship outside. Holes were left on the shells of those starships. These holes, like being pierced by shells, continuously emit black smoke. Su-Yan manipulated the Hyperion and continued to destroy these interstellar spacecraft. The Hyperion hit another starship again. Boom boom boom. A series of violent explosions sounded continuously, and these interstellar spacecraft were crashed. Su-Yan's Hyperion is really terrifying. I don't know how powerful it is. If it was an ordinary interstellar spaceship, it would have been shattered by the impact of the Hyperion. Haha, it's really amazing. It can be called invincible. Su-Yan is manipulating the Hyperion, constantly hitting these interstellar spaceships. However, although the Hyperion is a super warship, it still needs to consume a lot of energy. Even the Hyperion needs to consume a large part of the energy. Su-Yan manipulated the Hyperion to go to the star field near the third star, preparing to find the energy storage place of the third star to supplement the energy. The energy reserves on the Hyperion still have more than 200 billion energy. The energy pool in the interstellar base can only last for about a year. Once the energy supply of the Hyperion is exhausted, the interstellar base will automatically shut down. Therefore, the third star must be found as soon as possible. The outer shell of the Hyperion is extremely hard. This material is one of the best materials among interstellar battleships. The shell of the Hyperion, I don't know how tyrannical it is. Even if Su-Yan controls this super battleship, it will take a lot of effort to break through the outer armor of the Hyperion. Not to mention it is impossible to make a hole in the hull of the Hyperion. The interstellar base is just an energy storage warehouse system. Get me the energy storehouse of the interstellar base. I want to destroy the energy storehouse, and then dismantle the entire interstellar base, so that all the people inside will die. The interstellar base is an important stronghold in the entire galaxy. The interstellar base is also the only place in the galaxy where spaceships can be made. If the interstellar base is destroyed, no one will be able to manufacture spaceships in the future. This is also the status of the interstellar base in the galaxy. Now, the interstellar base is destroyed by the Hyperion, and all personnel in the interstellar base will be killed. It is not a pity for them to die, but they don't know how these interstellar civilizations will deal with them. Ding, host, the energy bank of the interstellar base is being activated. Soon, the energy reserve on the Hyperion was activated, and a huge circular hole appeared on the outer armor of the Hyperion. A strong energy breath continuously poured into the Hyperion from the hole. In this cave, the strong energy pouring in is more than 10 times that of the outside, and in this cave, it's not just these strong energies pouring in. There are many powerful electromagnetic pulse guns on the Hyperion, and it is unknown what kind of weapons are loaded on these electromagnetic pulse guns. These electromagnetic pulse guns were also transported to the Hyperion, and then placed in the interstellar base. With a burst of bright light, this interstellar base burned like a huge fireball. A series of intense flames rose from the periphery of the interstellar base, and spread towards the interior of the interstellar base. Boom. The flames of the interstellar base rose up in clusters. In the flames, accompanied by various weapons, they attacked the Hyperion. Ding. Hostile attack detected. Do you enter combat state? Su Yan's heart trembled, and he immediately issued an order. The battle mode is activated. Inside the outer shell of the Hyperion, golden gun barrels suddenly popped out of the shell, and the gun barrels were covered with dense arcs. Under Su Yan's control, the Hyperion's gun muzzle blasted out, and a thick beam of light shot out from the gun muzzle boom. A huge roar burst out from the muzzle, and thick beams of energy beams shot out in all directions, and swept away in all directions. The beams of energy beams, wherever they went, the starry sky around the interstellar base, were all destroyed. The artillery on the fort was swept away by the thick energy beams. These artillerymen flew out one after another, were strangled to pieces by the energy beam, and disappeared completely. The energy cannon on the Hyperion turret fired a cannon, which was more ferocious than ordinary energy cannons. Wherever the energy beam went, everything was destroyed. Those forts have also become a mess and become incomplete. At this moment, the Hyperion is full of energy cannons, and each energy cannon is very powerful. The speed of the energy beam is also quite fast, and its attack power is extremely powerful. The Hyperion fired a shot, then stopped bombarding. Inside the turret on the Hyperion, another energy beam shot out. This time, the target was not an interstellar base. The energy cannons on the Hyperion are all locked on the interstellar base. The energy cannon on the Hyperion is not unlimited. Under the condition of abundant energy, the energy cannon can continuously fire more than 100,000 pieces. After the firing is over, it will take a few seconds before the energy cannon can be fired again. Inside the Hyperion, there are quite a few energy shells. Energy beams exploded around the star base. The power of the energy beam continued to spread, and the surroundings of the interstellar base had been completely torn apart. The power is too powerful. The energy defense cover of the interstellar base can't resist the raging energy beams at all. It quickly became fragmented and turned into fragments all over the sky, falling into the distance and disappearing into the void. The guards of the interstellar bases on the outskirts were all dumbfounded. Looking at this scene, they couldn't react at all and could only watch blankly. There are a total of more than 260 energy cannons on the Hyperion's turret. Now more than 150 cannons have been fired, and the remaining energy bombs have also been fired. The turret of the Hyperion is not so easy to damage, and the number of energy shells of the Hyperion is still very large, enough for the Hyperion to fire 10 times for 10 months. There are only more than 260 energy cannons in this interstellar base. The Hyperion, like a gigantic beast, charged towards the interstellar base. The energy shells of the Hyperion were constantly firing towards the interstellar base. One by one energy shells bombarded the outer defensive cover of the interstellar base, bursting out with earth-shattering explosions. The outer defense cover of the interstellar base couldn't withstand the Hyperion's energy bombardment at all. Under the powerful impact of the Hyperion, it collapsed inch by inch and turned into ruins. All the soldiers in the interstellar base were all killed under the bombardment of artillery fire. Even the interstellar pilot who controlled the interstellar base was killed by the energy beam. All the people in the interstellar base died. The energy beam slammed into Y Kang's energy bomb of the interstellar base. Circle after circle of ripples shone on the energy shield, and energy light spots emerged from it one by one, and then quickly disappeared. In an instant, everything on the interstellar base disappeared, and the entire interstellar base was reduced to ruins. Every beam of energy can destroy everything in the interstellar base. The energy shells on the Hyperion bombarded for 10 minutes, and the regiment finally stopped. Boom. The energy beam disappeared, and the energy turret on the Hyperion also consumed all the energy inside. Haha, not bad, not bad, as expected of an energy weapon. Really powerful. Su Yan couldn't help shouting, such a powerful energy weapon can definitely change the existence of the interstellar base. It is indeed a powerful energy weapon that can navigate in the universe and shuttle through some space tunnels. If the energy in the interstellar base is sufficient, the Hyperion can continue to emit energy beams. Although not as good as the energy core, there are endless energy supplies in the interstellar base, which can continuously provide energy. Although the outer shield of the interstellar base has dissipated, there is still an energy shield inside the interstellar base. The energy shield can also resist the attack of the energy beam. In this way, even if the warships of the Star Alliance rushed over, there was nothing they could do to Su Yan. It can even attack the Star Alliance in reverse. The Interstellar Alliance is the biggest reliance of the interstellar base. Now that the interstellar base is destroyed, it means that they can no longer protect the interstellar base. The star base is destroyed. In this battle, Su Yan won. Su Yan retrieved the Hyperion and landed. Su Yan looked at the surrounding scene, and it was almost destroyed here. In the interstellar base, all the buildings were destroyed, leaving only the potholes on the ground. This is the credit of the Hyperion. All the energy shells on the Hyperion have been used. After the energy shell explodes, it can generate extremely powerful energy fluctuations. These energy fluctuations all spread in all directions, causing the entire area to suffer huge damage. The interstellar base has completely disappeared. The people in the interstellar base are dead, and the energy shield in the interstellar base no longer exists. Let's go. 453, Su Yan said. The Hyperion quickly lifted off and flew towards the direction of the Milky Way. Soon, the Hyperion disappeared into the void, never to be seen again. After the Hyperion left, the energy shield of the entire interstellar base dissipated, and the interstellar base also disappeared into the void. At this time, outside the Milky Way, there are two huge spaceships speeding towards the Milky Way. They are interstellar pilots, and their spaceships are also interstellar bases. In the interstellar base, there is no one left. Their mission is to guard the galaxy, prevent other forces from entering the galaxy, and prevent those forces in the galaxy from stepping into the galaxy. But their mission is nothing more than that. After the Hyperion disappeared, they also quickly retreated. The speed of their retreat was many times faster than that of the Hyperion, so they left the interstellar base soon. After the Hyperion disappeared, Su Yan's face was slightly ugly. Such a huge interstellar base has been destroyed just like that. Haven't they found the energy core in the interstellar base yet? No matter what treasures there are in the interstellar base, they have all been destroyed by the Hyperion. Alas, Su Yan sighed. He has no choice now, so he has to return to the Milky Way. It is necessary to find a hidden place to solve it, so that it cannot be discovered. Otherwise, it will be targeted by those people of the Star Alliance. The energy shells of the Hyperion are really too powerful. If the Hyperion didn't have an energy shield, it would have been blown up by the interstellar pilot long ago. The explosion of the energy shell this time was not perfect, nor could it achieve the effect Su Yan expected. Otherwise, Su Yan wouldn't need to spend so much effort to destroy the outer defense cover of the interstellar base. If the Hyperion can be more powerful and directly destroy the entire interstellar base, then the people of the Star Alliance will never be able to enter the Milky Way. But now, the energy shells of the Hyperion can no longer maintain the energy shield of the Hyperion, and the Hyperion has also stopped functioning. The energy shells on the Hyperion have all been exhausted. The Hyperion can only stay at this place, and cannot move one step forward. Su Yan had to return to the Milky Way. In the Milky Way, the technology of the galaxy has developed to a peak state, and has completely surpassed the civilization in the galaxy. In the Milky Way, there are already many countries that have mastered many technologies, and even surpassed the Milky Way civilization. But in the Milky Way, when technology develops to a certain level, it will stagnate, and no matter how much it advances, it is impossible to break through to another height. Moreover, the technological level of the Milky Way is still growing, and it cannot be broken through overnight. There are also many planets in the Milky Way, all of which are composed of interstellar civilizations and various civilizations. When Su Yan was in the interstellar base, he also explored the territories of those civilizations. The technology in these civilizations is simply weak compared to the technology of the Milky Way, and it is not even comparable to the technology of the Milky Way. However, Su Yan didn't want to conquer those civilizations in the past, but was going to explore the information of these civilizations to see if there were any energy minerals he needed in these civilizations. In the Milky Way, these civilizations also have their own territories and their own colonies, but those colonies are all very remote places. The energy mineral Su Yan is looking for should be there. However, there are many distances between the stars in the Milky Way. These distances are very far away, and Su Yan doesn't know how far these distances are. Su Yan left the interstellar base and came to the Milky Way. Coming to the Milky Way, Su Yan's goal is naturally impossible to find energy minerals. Su Yan is wandering in the Milky Way. He wants to get familiar with the environment of the Milky Way first. In the Milky Way, there are still some technologies. Su Yan paused on a planet for a while, then turned on the energy shield, and placed defensive restrictions around the planet. In the Milky Way, there are not many such restrictions. Under normal circumstances, there is no danger without even a little threat. Su Yan has also been in the Milky Way for many years, and the technology of the Milky Way is natural. However, although the technology of the Milky Way is advanced, it is not of much value. There are many minerals in the Milky Way. These minerals are very rare, and no one has ever seen the existence of these minerals in the Milky Way. Su Yan came to a planet, and then used his divine sense to investigate the situation of these minerals. Under the influence of divine thoughts, Su Yan quickly found several ores. These ores are metals. The metals in ores, the quality of the ore is very good. If they can be extracted by 1.8, they may obtain a large amount of energy and increase the power of the energy shield. Su Yan collected these pieces of ore, and then left this planet. He stayed on a planet for a while. During this period of time, he didn't waste it, and began to absorb energy. While Su Yan was absorbing energy, he also began to try to use energy shells to carry out the strongest attack on the interstellar base, hoping to destroy the interstellar base. However, Su Yan tried several times, but failed, because the energy turrets of the interstellar base were all damaged by the energy shells of the Hyperion, and the Hyperion has also stopped its energy operation. Su Yan also has nothing to do. He stayed on this planet for a few days before leaving it. After returning to the Milky Way, Su Yan spent some time to restore his energy to the best state, and then moved on to find those energy minerals. However, Su Yan discovered that these energy minerals are also very precious, and it is not easy to find them. This time Su Yan came to the Milky Way, and brought some materials with him. The Milky Way is a vast expanse of universe, where Su Yan is located, is above a huge star. Under this star is a giant star, and around the star are asteroids. These asteroids, on the surface of the star, are scattered a lot. The magma on the surface of the star is as hot as the magma ejected from the crater, and the surface of these asteroids also has a lot of magma. But these magmas did not form any craters, but were suspended above the surface of the star, and on the surface of these magmas, there were countless energy blocks floating. Su Yan also found these energy blocks on the magma, and then absorbed the energy contained in these energy blocks. Energy, for the power of the energy shield, is very huge. Su Yan needs to use a lot of energy to activate the energy shield, which is a very important thing. Therefore, in the Milky Way, if you can encounter some minerals, you must find a way to get them. The energy reserves of the Milky Way are very large, and the planets in the Milky Way are very huge, and there are many minerals in them, which are needed by the interstellar bases. And outside the Milky Way, there are some planets, which are also very prosperous planets. In the Milky Way, there are many forces, and they live in the Milky Way. Not only those powerful life forms in the Milky Way, but also many planets. The life forms on those planets have their own unique laws of life. They live on the same planet, and their laws are mutual. In the Milky Way, some life forms will establish bases on a certain planet, and then set up defenses near their own bases to prevent other life forms from approaching. Those defense factories are very large, and each factory can withstand the radiation of the same star. Su Yan also wants to build an industrial zone in the galaxy, and then expand the galaxy. In the Milky Way, there are many galaxies, and these galaxies have powerful strength. If you can control some of these galaxies, it will be very helpful to Su Yan's development. However, the Milky Way is very large. Once a planet is mastered, it is very difficult to completely occupy it. Moreover, Su Yan has to worry about other life forms on the planet. These life forms are also very powerful, and the interstellar bases on the planet are very large. If Su Yan wants to attack those interstellar bases on the planet, it will not be easy. Therefore, Su Yan has no development plan in the Milky Way for the time being. The Milky Way is very vast, even for Su Yan. It will take a long time to sail in the Milky Way. For such a long time, Su Yan relied on the energy shield to fly in the Milky Way. On this planet, Su Yan found several energy minerals, put them away, and began to study how to use these minerals. After studying for a period of time, Su Yan found that these minerals seemed to have no effect, because the functions of these minerals are all concentrated in one piece, that is energy. How to absorb these energies? Su Yan wants to use these minerals, absorb the energy of these minerals, and then use them to enhance his energy shield. Su Yan steered the Hyperion to continue moving forward, and then he began to study how to absorb the energy contained in these minerals. On a planet in the Milky Way, Su Yan found a mine. He began to study these minerals, and then tried to absorb these minerals into his energy shield. The energy of minerals and the energy of energy shields have obvious repulsion. These energy ores, after devouring the energy shield, will release a very violent energy, and the energy shield will become crumbling under the impact of this energy. If it wasn't for the energy shield being strong enough, it might have already broken. But when Su Yan absorbs these energies, he doesn't feel pain, and even feels a little excited. Because of these energies, the increase to his energy shield is very obvious. Su Yan began to try to absorb the energy in these energy ores with his energy shield, and then increase the quality of his energy shield by absorbing the energy in these energy ores. In the end, these minerals became the energy source of his energy shield. At this moment, a warship of the Star Alliance's interstellar base. Suddenly news came that they were attacked by the enemy. The battleship of the Star Alliance is also a very powerful interstellar weapon. They have many weapons, but they are all small interstellar weapons. These small interstellar weapons are no match for those large interstellar weapons in the Milky Way. But the Star Alliance base has some powerful weapons, even more powerful than large interstellar weapons. For example, energy cannons, energy bombs, nuclear bombs, etc. The energy of these weapons is terrifying, and there are also a lot of them. 507. The attacks of these weapons are very violent, and there are many powerful defensive force fields that can guarantee their safety. When Su Yan heard the news, he frowned slightly, because the base of the Star Alliance was in danger, so he had to participate in this battle. So, Su Yan immediately drove the Hyperion and flew towards the battle site. The Hyperion's speed is very fast, and it has a layer of light shield on its body, which can be immune to the energy bombardment of interstellar weapons. This time, Su Yan decided to participate in the battle. The speed of the Hyperion ship was very fast, and it flew to the base of the Star Alliance in less than 20 minutes. This base is a big city, and this base is very huge, occupying 1/3 of the entire Milky Way. The guards of this base are also very strict. Inside the base, there are many powerful technological equipment, such as energy guns, such as energy cannons, such as energy missiles, such as energy shields. But these technological equipment have no effect on the Hyperion. Stop, this is Star Alliance. At this time, the guards at the base of the Star Alliance saw Su Yan flying over, and immediately shouted. Su Yan controlled the Hyperion and stayed in front of the Star Alliance base. Outside the base, there are soldiers from 2 planets guarding it. The spaceship of the Hyperion landed slowly. Hyperion, when the 2 soldiers saw the flag on the spaceship, they immediately exclaimed, because in the Milky Way, only the Hyperion has such a sign. This Hyperion is also the most powerful spaceship in this universe. The Hyperion is the overlord of the galaxy. Who would dare to provoke it? The defensive power of the Hyperion is not comparable to ordinary interstellar weapons. Even some giant-level interstellar weapons in the solar system can't destroy the Hyperion's defense. This Hyperion is a big boss in the entire galaxy. Who would dare to mess with it? Who are you? Come to our Star Alliance base. What's the matter? These guards said to Su Yan. Su Yan smiled, with a grim expression on his face, and said, tell me, where is your commander? What are you doing? The guard was overwhelmed by Su Yan's momentum. He couldn't help but said, they are just ordinary soldiers of Star Alliance. How dare they look at Su Yan directly? Let your commander come to see me, otherwise, you will all die here. On the Hyperion, there was an icy voice, which made the guard shiver uncontrollably. They knew very well in their hearts that there were hundreds of powerful energy cannons on this huge Hyperion. If they dare to resist, then the artillery fire from the Hyperion will definitely hit them. Therefore, these guards had no choice but to turn around, run into the base, and report the matter to their commander. Tell the commander, the captain of the Hyperion, that I have something urgent to see you. Soon, a young man wearing blue armor came out. He looked like he was only in his 20s, with an arrogance on his face, and a cold look in his eyes. This man is the commander of the Star Alliance, and his name is Carl Vince. He has a noble status in the Star Alliance, and everyone must obey his orders, otherwise, he will be punished. Therefore, in the Star Alliance, almost no one would dare to provoke him. At this time, the hatch of the Hyperion opened, and Su Yan came out from inside. He looked at this Carl Vince, and said lightly, are you the commander-in-chief? Carl Vince looked at Su Yan with indifference in his eyes. Yes, I am the commander-in-chief. I am Carl Vince. Since it's Carl Vince, then I'm not polite. Now, I want to join the Star Alliance and participate in an interstellar war. Su Yan said lightly. Carl Vince was stunned, and then anger appeared on his face. You are provoking the Alliance by doing this. I advise you, leave me now. Provocative. Su Yan smiled lightly. I didn't provoke the Alliance. I came here just to kill you. With his words, Carl Vince's face suddenly darkened. You want to kill me? Ha ha ha. Carl Vince raised his head and laughed. You have the guts to come to our Star Alliance to kill me. Their Star Alliance is an alliance of super civilizations. Although in other places in the universe, there are also alliances formed by super civilizations, but their strength is far inferior to Star Alliance. Of course I have the guts to come to your Star Alliance to kill you. Don't you know that your identity here is not even bullshit? Su Yan's tone is cold, without mercy. After he finished speaking, he controlled the Hyperion and continued to fly to the base of the Star Alliance. Asshole, you're looking for death. Carl Vince flew into a rage. He didn't expect that this human being would dare to say such a thing to himself. This is simply a provocation to the Star Alliance. Boom. At this moment, the hatch of the starship battleship opened, and a gun barrel protruded from it, aiming at Su Yan. This is the main gun of the starship. Boom. Su Yan controlled the Hyperion and fired an energy cannon at the starship. A burst of destructive energy burst out, instantly devouring that starship battleship. Thick smoke billowed from the muzzle of the starship battleship, and then, shattered into pieces. Damn, who are you? You dare to play wild in our Star Alliance? Carl Vince was furious. He had never encountered such a thing. Someone dared to act wildly at the Star Alliance base. Humph! The corner of Su Yan's mouth twitched into a sneer. He steered the Hyperion and continued to fly forward, while the starships of the Star Alliance kept chasing the Hyperion. Su Yan ignored them and continued to fly to the Star Alliance base. Boom! Suddenly, another energy shock wave erupted in front of the Hyperion. Su Yan steered the Hyperion to dodge the energy attack. You bunch of rubbish, F***Kami. Su Yan snorted coldly, manipulated the Hyperion, and fired wildly at the starship. The Hyperion was extremely fast, caught up with the starship in an instant, and crashed into the starship. Under the attack of the Hyperion, the artillery fire on the starship battleship was also activated. However, the Hyperion possesses terrifying defensive capabilities. After a fierce collision, the starship was still knocked out by the Hyperion with a big hole. The Hyperion continued to charge forward, and directly entered the base of the Star Alliance. As soon as the Hyperion entered the base, it attracted the attention of many people from the Star Alliance. The Hyperion's deterrence is too great. So many people from the Star Alliance also gathered together, waiting for Su Yan to enter the base of the Star Alliance. They wanted to see the origin of this enemy, who broke into the Star Alliance. Zhao Hao, Alliance. It's the Hyperion. How did he get into the Star Alliance base? Many people from the Star Alliance were all very surprised. They never thought that someone would dare to break into the base of the Star Alliance. Hurry up and report to the ally. Send someone to stop him immediately. There was a burst of panic, and people from the Star Alliance gathered around Su Yan. Stop. People from the Star Alliance gathered around. They looked at the Hyperion fiercely, wanting to see who the pilot of the Hyperion was. Killers are always killed. You Star Alliance people want to kill us. I'm just here to seek justice. Su Yan said lightly. We will make you pay dearly. The Star Alliance roared. Your star warships are not very good either. Su Yan smiled lightly, then steered the Hyperion and continued to charge forward. Damn it, kill him for me. Carl Vince stood inside the starship, glaring at Su Yan. He wished he could tear Su Yan apart. When has he ever been humiliated by others as the commander of the Star Alliance? In the Star Warship, a large number of Star Warriors rushed out and killed Su Yan. Attack! Blast these guys for me. Su Yan gave the order. He wants to give these guys some color. Boom boom boom. Missiles were fired at the Star Alliance crowd. Under the bombardment of these missiles, the entire starship was destroyed. Groups of dazzling fireworks bloomed in the sky, and the warships of the Star Alliance all turned into fragments scattered in the sky and fell in all directions. The crowd of the Star Alliance, the bones bombarded by Su Xin are gone. Carl Vince watched Su Yan's figure disappear, and suddenly became furious. He shouted, catch him. Yes. Soon, team after team of Star Warriors rushed out of the Star Alliance base, all of them holding weapons, and rushed towards Su Yan. Su Yan watched this scene with a smile on his face. This bunch of rubbish is really weak enough. Su Yan manipulated the Hyperion, shuttled above the sky of 850, and wherever he passed, those Star Alliance fighters were completely vulnerable. Under their artillery fire, they were blown to pieces. Soon, the Star Warships razed the base of the Star Alliance to the ground, and countless people of the Star Alliance were killed or injured. At this time, the group of Star Alliance people were all dumbfounded. They never thought that the base they worked so hard to set up would be so vulnerable in front of Su Yan. This made them feel a little unbelievable, and even felt like a dream. You rubbish, that's all. Su Yan steered the Hyperion and flew towards the headquarters of the Star Alliance. He wanted to teach these people a lesson. The headquarters of the Star Alliance is located on the edge of a city, which is very close to the Earth, but it is surrounded by interstellar spaceships. Su Yan piloted the Hyperion to land on the interstellar spacecraft. You Star Alliance are not doing well. We just arrived, and you sent people to chase after us. It is really shameless. Su Yan stepped down from the Hyperion, and said to the Star Alliance executives in the interstellar spaceship, who are you? You can actually destroy our base. Carl Vince looked at Su Yan with a gloomy face. He stared at Su Yan with a cold look in his eyes, as if he was looking at a dead person. Don't you Star Alliance want to kill me? Well, I'll give you a chance to let you know what will happen if you offend me. Su Yan looked at Carl Vince indifferently, and said coldly. Hearing these words, a spark of anger flickered in Carl Vince's eyes. Court death. Carl Vince shouted angrily, and then manipulated the starship to launch an attack on Su Yan's Hyperion. Call out. The starship warship let out a sharp whistling sound, and like a shooting star, it quickly rushed towards the Hyperion. At this moment, the main gun of the Hyperion made a violent roar. A huge fireball was launched from the muzzle of the Hyperion and headed towards the starship. The two missiles collided in mid-air, and then exploded, bursting in the air, turning into groups of fiery flames. This is a super shell fired by the main gun of the Hyperion. It contains a powerful destructive power, even more powerful than a missile. At this moment, Carl Vince's face changed suddenly. He didn't expect that Su Yan's Hyperion could launch such a powerful attack. Quick, get out of the way, Carl Vince shouted. The rest of the Star Alliance immediately dodged. In the center of the explosion, a huge crater appeared. The artillery fire from the Hyperion still persisted, continuing to bombard the spaceship. There were dense explosions on the star warship ship, and the star warship was riddled with holes by the main gun of the Hyperion. The Hyperion turned in the air and continued to blast towards the Star Alliance headquarters. Seeing this scene, Carl Vince's expression changed. No, this warship must not be allowed to approach our headquarters. Carl Vince waved his hand and said to his adjutant, activate the shield immediately to defend the Hyperion. Obey. The adjutant replied. At the beck and call of Carl Vince, he gave the order right away. The main guns of the Hyperion continued to bombard the starship battleship. Under the bombardment of the main guns, the shell of the starry space battleship was completely damaged. Under the bombardment of the Hyperion's main gun, the shell of the starship battleship has been completely shattered, falling down piece by piece, and falling to the ground. On the starship battleship, many star warriors were stunned, and blood gushed out from their bodies. The power of the Hyperion's main gun was extremely terrifying, destroying the spaceship in just a few seconds. Haha, finally solved. Seeing this scene, Suyin felt very happy. Who are you? We have no grievances with you. Why are you attacking our spaceships? Carl Vince's adjutant saw that the Hyperion had destroyed their warship. He felt distressed and asked because of his voice. Who am I? Don't you even know who I am? Su Yan sneered. Don't talk nonsense. Tell me who you are. I'm Su Yan. What? Don't you know me? Su Yan smiled slightly and looked at Carl Vince. You are Su Yan. You dare to break into our Star Alliance. You are looking for death. Carl Vince was furious and roared. Since you want to die, then I will fulfill you. Prepare to strike back. With a wave of his hand, Su Yan controlled the Hyperion and began to counterattack. Boom! The muzzle of the Hyperion began to spit out annihilation. Firepower was poured towards the starfighters on the star battleship, and under the shelling of the Hyperion, these starfighters fell in a pool of blood one after another. The shelling of the Hyperion was truly terrifying. Under the artillery fire of the Hyperion, the starfighters on the star warship lost their lives one after another, with heavy casualties, and the star warship also suffered serious damage. Under the bombardment of the Hyperion, a huge hole appeared in the shell of the star warship, and under the attack of the Hyperion, a crack appeared in its defense. Carl Vince saw this scene. His face became extremely pale.
Thank you for watching Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.